Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? I looked at the injury report today, Mike. Kamara injured again. What was your reaction when you saw the injury report today?
I mean, I wasn't hugely surprised. We saw yesterday that Kamara was not doing a ton, so I wasn't 100% sure that he was back like full steam ahead. And I still don't know if this means day on, day off, day on again Friday he plays, or or he had a setback or he didn't feel good enough yesterday. Unfortunately, I don't know the specifics on that, but obviously he's not 100% back yet, and he's very highly questionable for this game. And I think just as disappointing is not seeing Terron Armstead or Ramczyk out there, because those are guys who have missed Wednesday practices this season and then come back Thursday and Friday and play. For them to be out Wednesday and Thursday, we've got full on like, oh my gosh, what is this offense going to look like on our hands?
So who, by the way, if Ramczyk doesn't play, who starts at right tackle?
We've seen both Jordan Mills, who's a veteran that's bounced around and come to them this year, and Landon Young, the rookie, take time there. So since that's not a position they've had to replace yet this year, we don't know for sure who it would be, to be honest with you, especially if James Hurst has to play left tackle. And Calvin Throckmorton at left guard, and Cesar Ruiz, who's still kind of on again, off again at right guard. So at some point, there might be too many guys missing for this offensive line, even though they've done such a good job of filling in throughout the year.
Yeah. Hey, what's been your reaction to the way Mark Ingram's played so far?
I'm not really surprised. I mean, I had not monitored him super close, but I know that he had emerged as sort of the best of the five veteran running backs that they had in Houston. And he's always had that energy level. I mean, he's just the perfect. It's crazy that Alvin Kamara, I think, is unquestionably the best player on this Saints team. And yet that's one of the guys that you feel the best about him missing a game, because you feel like the backup is such a comfortable, obvious backup right now.
Yeah. I know we talked about it last week, and it's kind of becoming sort of a regular thing. You know, Sean Payton, after the game, in the loss to the Titans, did mention, you start looking at players and personnel, and they did that this week. They worked out some receivers. They brought Brett Maher back. The question everyone keeps asking me, I'm sure you're getting it as well, is about Adam Trautman. What do they do there, Mike?
What's interesting about Trautman is he's so good at run blocking, and that's such a big part of this team, that he deserves all those snaps he gets and belongs on the field. But it's tough to say that. He should be on the field for all those snaps, but then you don't feel comfortable throwing him the ball, even when he's open. I mean, obviously he's not going to be a huge first guy in the rotation. He's not going to be a huge part of the game plan. But I don't know if you just completely take him off the field, but I think that's a possibility now with Nick Bennett back healthy, because he is a guy who has been a really good blocker in his career. And, Trautman is, when Sean Payton is talking about, you look at the guys who are repeat offenders, he's right at the top of that list.
Yeah. A couple more on offense. We'll flip it over and talk defense as well. Taysom Hill's another guy that's injured, Mike. I mean, I was going to start to wonder, do we have the conversation about, just to try to jumpstart this offense, do you change it up and start Taysom Hill? But I don't even know that that's an option.
It's not an option. No, yeah, exactly. He's missed practice both days with a foot injury. He obviously was just coming back from a concussion, and this was always a worry. I've sort of been on team. I'd like to see what it looks like if you really commit to making Taysom Hill your starter. I'd be fascinated to see it at least. But I would list the number one reason not to do that is not only that he's injury prone because he had the injuries in college, but just his style of play is prone to injuries, and now we've seen two of them in the last month for him, which is all the more reason to think he can make Trevor Siemian work. Maybe that's a smarter plan. And Trevor Siemian has done nothing to he's not perfect by any stretch, but he's not doing anything to lose that job. And if anything, he's further cemented his hold on that job the last 2 weeks, I think. So I agree with you that, if this turns into a 4-game losing streak and some of those games turn into the Saints can't move the ball at all and Turner Simeon's only thrown for 150 yards and he's turning it over a couple times, I have continued to think that we would see Taysom Hill before the season was over. But you're right that certainly seems like a distant possibility right now.
Mike Triplett's with us. So if Taysom doesn't play on Sunday, does that mean Ian Book is active as the backup?
That he was, let's see. Was there, he's been active as a backup because, Taysom, when Taysom is in that other role where they have plays in for him as a runner and receiver, he's not the backup quarterback. That's why, Jameis came into the game last year. That's why Peyton said Simeon would have come into a game this year. So I would think even with a healthy Taysom Hill, Book is active as the backup from here until the end of the season. But definitely that's the case if Hill doesn't play.
Oh, man. All right, so they lost in Philly last year. Let's flip the field. A big part of that was both Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts ran for over 100 yards. I mean, that was the defense had that long streak of not allowing a 100-yard rusher, and the Eagles
They still have it. I'm writing about that for tomorrow. It's now 70 games, and that's the only game where they allowed a 100-yard rusher. And they did it twice.
So it's not over. So the streak's over because
the streak's over.
Yeah, right.
But nobody's done it. Nobody did it before, and nobody's done it since.
It's amazing.
That's the only game in the last 70 where they've allowed a 100-yard rusher, and they allowed 200-yard rushers.
So how do they change that this time? Was that just the anomaly?
Well, partly an anomaly. I think now the Eagles ran for 246 in that game, and that's 66 more than any team has run against them in the last 5 years. So they're a really good running team. It's an anomaly that both those guys got off that much, but they're still probably as dangerous a rushing team as they're going to face. The Eagles are averaging over 200 yards rushing a game over the last 3 weeks again this year. They're among the best in the NFL. It's probably, right behind the Ravens as a team that poses a great rushing threat. So you don't just say, oh, they caught us off guard last year and now they're only going to run for 70 yards. They'll get theirs in this game. But I'll take the under on 246.
I would hope so. Is there anything else defensively where you look in this game and say, yeah, that's got to be better for New Orleans?
Well, here's a funny thing, too, about we were just talking about this. Obviously there are a lot of things we could blame for their loss at Tennessee, including that penalty, that egregious penalty, and the 2 missed extra points. And a lot of people say, they didn't get that penalty. Takes a touchdown off the board, they win. They make those extra points, they win by 1. Well, one thing we didn't see the Saints do in that game is have to defend the field and prevent Tennessee from kicking a field goal over the last 90 seconds, which has turned into a weird problem for this team. So we didn't watch a team trying to throw down the field against them to play catch-up. So we do wonder where they're at with that. And Philadelphia, especially if you're going to sell out to stop the run, you're in even more danger of giving up that big quick strike 50-yard pass or whatever. Philadelphia is pretty good at that, the play action pass. So that is another thing to worry about. Obviously, that's nitpicking a little bit. The Saints defense has been really good this year, but those quick strike plays have bitten them a lot over the last month, and that's another thing you don't want to see in this game.
Who is going to kick in this game on Sunday?
I would bet Brett Maher.
Okay.
Although they haven't made that transaction yet, and maybe they need to see him all week, or maybe they want to make sure they've got him secured, and Brian Johnson is on double secret probation, and after the next missed kick is when he gets cut. So I don't actually know, but I do know this. It'll be an adventure every time either kicker goes out there, because that's the new reality for this team. Right?
It's just so disappointing, man.
It really is. Out of all the other things they had to deal with this year, that one almost seems unfair. Can't you put that kicking pox on another team? This team is already down to its 3rd quarterback and its 5th receiver and its 6th offensive line. But can't you at least let them keep their kicker healthy all year?
No, that's the answer. No. Will Lutz is gone, and now there's this rotating door of Aldrich Rosas and Brett Maher and Brian Johnson, and I don't know, Mike Triplett's going to go kick probably against the Bills on Thanksgiving. I mean, you probably couldn't do any worse if it's just about missing PATs.
No, they probably want me out there because then they would at least know not even make the attempt.
Yeah, I guess.
In retrospect, they shouldn't have attempted.
Maybe so. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you gotta be able to make PATs in this. That goes without saying. But hey, one big picture question on the Saints. They're a game behind Tampa, which is incredible, but it's also the reality. I mean, you're 5-4, they're 6-3. So they got the 24th. I was looking at FPI earlier. They got the 24th toughest remaining schedule. So they have a manageable schedule the rest of the way. I know it doesn't look good, Mike, but the situation from the 10,000-foot view isn't terrible. So if you were to assess right now, looking ahead for the remainder of the season, provided there's no more absurd injuries and whatnot, like, what does it look like to you?
That's the provided. I mean, you just said it. First of all, a couple of things. You can't look at the schedule, because if they want to drop a dud like they did at home against Atlanta a couple weeks ago, so be it. And frankly, if you tell me they're going to play good and beat Buffalo on Thanksgiving night, that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, you throw the schedule out the window when it comes to the Saints. I'm sure it's true for a lot of NFL teams. It feels especially true for the Saints. But yes, the schedule is not going to be what keeps them out of the playoffs. They can beat the Jets. They can beat the Dolphins. They can win at home against the Panthers. They can win at Atlanta. They can win at Philly. It would be a huge disappointment if they finish the rest of this season under 500 and miss the playoffs. But you can't watch this team and feel comfortable that the flaws can't overtake them. We've seen it happen too many times already over the last month.
Yeah. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Make sure you follow him there. Read his stuff at ESPN.com. Does great work. When is the running game piece going to be out?
Either tomorrow morning or Saturday. It will be turned in shortly.
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
Well, it was you and I had not planned to go down that road, but sometimes what are the best laid plans? That actually doesn't apply here, so never mind. I was going down some rabbit hole there, and I failed miserably.
Now I'm going to work in of mice and men reference.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But I think but isn't the best laid plans of mice and men often go right? Isn't that not even from the book, or is it?
You know what? I have no idea. But I know that whatever the plan that they came up with against Philadelphia's run game last week belongs.
Yes.
Somewhere in the gutter, along with your analogy.
That was I hopefully the Minions party went well, and we appreciate a couple of minutes as always. We'll chat again with you next week.
Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.